What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode and the final episode of Season 1 of the Ronan Bell Show. I'm your host, obviously, Ronan Bell, and today, it's just me on the mic again. This episode is pretty much gonna recap everything that, I saw, heard, attained throughout Season 1 of my podcast. And I'm just going to go through each episode and see what lessons were learned through, these little conversations that we had, these hour, 50-minute conversations that I had with most of them, some of my friends and some of the people that I knew and some people that I just looked up to and saw that there was something that they had to tell and something that they could say and give advice, some experience that they had that really helped them out in life, and that I hope at least help one of you guys out there. So honestly, I'm excited. Let's get into this. So the first episode that I want to start out with is the pilot. My first time ever hopping on a mic, and obviously this was not the greatest podcast in the world, but the thing that I want to go over is looking at myself 10 weeks ago and looking at myself now, that there's a huge difference in who I was. The things that I learned from just making that first podcast, obviously it's not great. I know it wasn't great, but you had to start somewhere. That was the start of this whole thing. This was the start of the journey that I was going into, of making this podcast about wisdom, trying to get people to become more wise. And I look back on that pretty much every single day to see how much I just evolved as not only like a podcaster, but as a human being as well. I feel that it was interesting to see what my thoughts were back then and how they evolved and how they grew into what they are now. Just learning from human experience, how opening a door for someone is way more powerful than some of y'all think. There's little things in life that can really help someone else out, even when you don't think it does anything. And another point that I want to make from the first episode is I felt like I learned more about myself through this whole podcast thing than I have just going through life for 20 years so far. That I've learned that if I can put my mind to something, I could do it. I hope all of you out there saw that I started something. That if I can do it, why can't you guys? Why can't every single person out there just get in the mental state that I'm going to go do something today? I'm not special. There's nothing different about me than you. We're all human beings. We're all put on the same earth. We're all given the same chance. Go do something. It's not great. That first episode was honestly so shitty, but I did it. It was a start to something. I hope I look back on that another season from now and just see how far I grew again. It's all about progression, people. It's not I wasn't going to blow up overnight from one episode of a podcast that I didn't even think was 100% great, but I did it. It was the first start to the growth of what I have now, which is still not very big, but it's something. I'm trying to really comprehend everything that I've done through the first season, and that's where I wanted to start everything out as just, it might not be great, it might not be perfect, but it's there. It's something. I did it. No one can take that away from me ever, that I did something. And the final thing that I want to touch on in the first podcast was my tagline. I write it on my sweatshirt. I hold it very close to my heart, and it's, as always, y'all, just keep on keeping on. And the thing with that little tagline is that even though that life is going to be hard, even though life is not going to be 100% all butterflies, rainbows, and roses all the time, that you can get through anything that you put your mind to. Anything that you want in life is 100% achievable, but it all starts with that man in the mirror. It all starts with you internally. No one's gonna feel bad for you. No one's gonna feel sorry for you. So go get it yourself. Go do it. You can keep going. The good times are the good times. And if you can keep going through the good times and keep pushing up through the good times, then you're going to be even more successful. You're going to have a better good day. And it's the same thing when you're in the trenches. You know, there's always a bottom to the trench. There's always a bottom to the trench. It's not going to get any lower unless you make it get lower. The bottom of the trench is whatever you deem it to be. If you can work your way up from the bottom, you can do anything, people. Everyone has gone through so much shit in their life that on the surface, many of us will never find out about someone else. But if you can get through it, if you have the capability to do the unthinkable, getting out of depression, getting out of your own head, getting out of this tragedy that's struck, you can do anything. You can do whatever you want in life. Guys, I just want to say that again. You can do whatever you want to in life. And that's pretty much what I learned through the first episode. I came up with this tagline. I started this whole thing off. And then I got my first opportunity with my second episode interviewing these two guys from Jerpa Jeans. And really, Brad and Austin, the two people that started the company. Austin, obviously the one that started. Brad is now the director of marketing for Jerpa Jeans. But they gave me a chance to really see what this was going to be. They didn't know everything that was going to go into it. Heck, I even remember that 5 minutes into our first take that the mic shut off. Everything was going to shit. And it was okay. They were fine with it. They knew that this was the first time that I did it and that there was going to be a bump in the road eventually. And they stuck with me and we got it done. And it was a great podcast and everyone could learn something from it. And some of the things that I learned from that podcast is that business is really hard. Business is very hard. People discredit these business majors in college because, you know, maybe they don't have as much schoolwork, or maybe they don't have as much paper to write, or blah, 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 blah. But honestly, they're applying what they learned in the classroom into real life. These are people that have figured it out already. That it's going to take more than classes to really learn what you want to do. And they started that. Jerpa Jeans is obviously not everything that they want it to be. They're trying to shoot for the stars. You know, I bring it up a lot, and it's, why not them? Why not you? Why not you guys out there? You can do it. They did it. Why not you? Go start something. Go start something. And that's a perfect transition. And the next thing that I think you all should have learned, that you have to start. You have to start. I'm sure Austin had this idea and was like, wow, what am I going to do with this? Well, you can figure it out. He did it. He figured it out. I'm going to get a supplier. Who can make this, jeans with the Sherpa in it? Who can figure this out for me? Like, what do I need? What's the next step? There's someone that's going to help you out along the way if you ask for it. All you got to do is ask. What's the worst thing they say is no? No, I can't help you. Okay, I can move on to the next person. It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. No one's not going to try and help someone else succeed if they can, especially if they've been through something like that before. And the next thing that I want to go into is that when things get hard in life, that there's going to be someone to help you get through it. Austin and Brad had this interesting dilemma when COVID hit, obviously. Penn State was a big outlet for their sales and their marketing and things like that. And I'm sure that there was a hard time, like, what the hell are we going to do? What are we going to do with this? And they figured it out. They did it. They got through it. They have a bunch of money in revenue. They have a somewhat successful company at this point. They haven't even ran an ad yet. They have not ran an ad yet, and they are still doing this. How amazing is that? It's all word of mouth, Instagram reposting. It's not free to run the company, obviously, but they haven't done anything in advertising. And that's a big credit to them because they haven't sold themselves out and realized that, hey, we can keep going. We haven't reached our full potential. That's what I'm trying to get at, guys, that even if it doesn't seem like even if it seems like you've reached your peak, you can keep on keeping on. You can keep going higher. Why not? Why not? Shoot for the stars. If you come down, who cares? Who cares? Everyone's going to doubt you. Who cares? Who the hell cares? At the end of the day, are you happy? That's what you really got to consider. These two guys disregarded everything that people said. I'm sure people thought this was a bad idea. I'm sure people thought that this was going to shit. It wasn't going to be anything. But you know what? They didn't care. They kept going. They kept striving for everything that they wanted to achieve. And that's something that I learned from these two guys, that it didn't matter what anyone else thought. They always felt that this was a good idea, that this could blow up. And you know what? It's starting to. They've gotten way more mature. Their company has been way better from last October to now this November into December. And it's growth, guys. They've been growing. Not only as a company, but as two young men as well, that they're growing through it. And that's pretty much what I got out of that episode. And I just want to say that these two guys, Brad and Austin, if you guys are listening out there, you guys have two really great heads on your shoulder, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that everything works out. Keep that mindset. Keep working. The job is not done yet. The job is not done. And then after that episode, I got to interview my coach, Eugene Bowden. Now, obviously, it's a little bit weird at first, being an athlete and, interviewing your coach, seeing him outside of a practice, outside of a competition. And the thing that I want to credit him for is that he helped me outside of cheer and gave me the opportunity to show what I could do outside of a practice, that I'm more than just an athlete. I'm more than just something else. And that he was honestly a gift for me to be able to interview him and to see what really ran through his mind being a coach now after being an athlete for so long. And some of the things that I learned from him is that coaching is hard. Coaching is way harder than you think. You have to adapt to certain athletes' needs, and it's hard to figure that out. It's really hard to figure that out. It's hard reading people like that. Some people learn in different ways. Not everyone's going to learn the same way as someone else, especially in a sport like cheer, when you have not only guys, you have girls as well. You have a whole nother spectrum to incorporate into your coaching style and to incorporate into what you're trying to put out and these people are trying to learn. It's very interesting to see what the perspective was like from not only a former athlete, but now a coach going into it. Another thing that Eugene taught me was that you got to work to achieve everything that you want. Looking back at last year's practice, obviously this is pre-COVID and everything hit, but he worked 3 jobs. He was a coach, he was a bartender, and was a real estate or leasing agent at the retreat or something along those lines. That he worked his tail off to just, I don't want to say get by, but to get everything that he needed to get in order to pay those bills, in order to do the things that he wanted to do. And that's something that, I find very remarkable, that it didn't matter how late he had to stay up. I talk about it a lot on my Wisdom Wednesdays, that late nights are very necessary if you want to achieve greatness, that sometimes sleep is not everything that you need if you want to keep going. If you want to keep achieving everything that you want to achieve can be achieved if you just keep working. And sometimes you got to make sacrifices to your sleep. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices to, what you actually want to do. If you want to go golfing, if you want to go on a bike ride, that sometimes you got to put those things aside to really do what you want to do and achieve what you want to achieve. And the last point that I want to make from that podcast is that you can't take anything for granted. You cannot take anything for granted. He was talking about so much as that athletes will come and go. He only gets to know these people for 4 years and really get to talk to them. In 4 years, it seems long in the moment, but short in the past. And that you need to make as good an impression as possible on these people, because they're going out into the real world, and it's not all butterflies and rainbows anymore. It's not college. It's not everything that you want it to be. And that you need to, really think about the words say, really think about the interactions that you have, really think about the memories that you want to make to really define your relationship with another human and another group as well. And the final point that I want to make is that this man has taught me and pushed me to things that I never thought I would do years ago. I never thought I would be a cheerleader. I never thought I'd be on a football field at a Division I school, but I did it because he saw potential. He saw what I could do, and I'm still very grateful for the opportunity that he gave me to be able to be a part of this team. And going into the next episode was my good buddy, Bendy Franks. He was a walk-on baseball player from State College, actually, who's now on the Penn State baseball team. And honestly, Bendy's just a special kid. There's not many like him out there. There is this level of sacrifice that Bendy has made and just the sheer willpower that he has to achieve everything that he wanted to do, that it's insane. It's honestly insane that where he was when he was talking 2 years ago to where he is now, that how much he's grown as a person and how much he's grown as an athlete as well, that he really never stopped. It was a never-ending grind, and it's still not an ending grind. I mean, when you're a Division I athlete, but also a finance major, which if you don't know out there, that at Penn State, if you want to become a finance major, you need a 3.7 GPA. Bendy's even made that look like shit. He's got a 4.0. He's still got a 4.0. The kid works his tail off in and out of the classroom. That's something that I want you guys to realize, that it's not easy. It is not really easy. Bendy talked about all the sacrifices that he had to make, that, sometimes I couldn't hang out with my friends as much, and that I couldn't do this or that with, my friends. And he made these sacrifices, and he's still okay. He's still okay. Everything worked out in the end. And he's a prime example of making the most of the opportunity that you're given. He wasn't planning to come here. He wasn't planning to play college baseball. He didn't even think at one point he was going to really make this team, but he did it. He did it. He proved everyone wrong. If he can do it, why can't you? Why can't you work your tail off like he did? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really up to you at the end of the day. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself right now that you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't lie to yourself. You got to be able to put the work in, people. You got to put the work in. Some other things I learned from this episode is Bendy and I were having this conversation, and we were talking about like events or something along those lines, and that he brought up this point of putting your phone down. That this device in everyone's pocket is honestly just hurting your present moment. You're looking at everyone else's interaction, what everyone else is doing in life, and you're not worrying about your own. Social media is a tool, but it's also a curse. That you need to see things through your own eyes. Next time you have this event, or you're going to something special, going to a Penn State football game, take it. Next time, what if you didn't take a picture? How much more that moment would resonate with you? How much more that person to your left and the person to your right mean to you at that moment, rather than taking a picture and seeing a year from now, or posting on your Instagram and just looking back on it. And why is it so necessary to look so far? Look in the past. Why is it necessary to look into the past? It's over. It's done with. You saw it. You saw it. You don't need a picture to remind you. It's people 60 years ago didn't have cameras. My grandma didn't have a camera. She's doing okay. She has all these memories. Think of that, guys. Next time you're doing something fun, put your camera down, put your phone down. Live the moment. Realize who's to the left and right of you. Realize that this is honestly this is your story. No one's changing it. You have the power to really involve yourself fully in that story. Think about that, guys. Think about that. Another point that I want to make is that adversity makes you a stronger soul. Bendy had some things happen to him through the course. Obviously, he didn't get any of the schools he wanted. He didn't want to come to Penn State. I said that a little bit earlier, but he didn't want to come here. He saw that he was selling himself short by going here instead of getting to one of these Ivy League schools. Obviously, education was very important to him, and that he battled through it. He kept going. The master path was in a trench, and he worked his way out of it. Not many people can say that. It takes a lot of mental toughness. It takes a lot of mental capability to be able to do something like that. To be able to go through that bad time and really work your way out of it. And he's okay now. The bad time's over. The bad time hits everyone. But you can keep on keeping on through it. Nothing's going to stop you but yourself. But yourself. The final point that I want to make is that Bendy's a very special kid, but if he can do it, why not you? Why not you, people? Success is something you have to work for, no matter if someone is watching or not out there. That success is something you have to work for. Not everyone blows up on TikTok overnight. Not everyone can do some dance or some Instagram ad and just post a picture and become famous. It's not that easy. It's not that easy for everyone, people. So work. It'll all be worth it one day. I promise you, it will be worth it if you keep working. Next interview I had was, I believe we're at episode 5 now, and it was with my booze and culture professor, Anthropology 140, with my professor, Kirk French. And he's someone that I wanted to interview before I really even started this podcast, just to sit down and talk to the guy about his experience. I mean, he has been all over the world. Not many people can say that. Now, granted, it's for, studying the anthropology of alcohol, but still the interactions you have with these people in these places that, many don't even think about when they visualize what the world even is. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing that he did that. And that it was really like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The plot really thickened. The peak was still going up for this guy. He kept trying to learn more and more and more, and it was amazing to just listen to this guy. And some of the things and some of the wisdom that I attained from this is that some things you don't like teach you things as well. So stay in there. And the thing that resonated with me with this is that we had a little conversation before the interview, and I said, Professor French, I really didn't like any of the gen eds that I took this semester. And then he was like, oh, well, okay. And then we go into this interview and he brings up the point and said, some of these gen eds teach you more about yourself, or some of the gen eds that you don't like teach you more about yourself than you realize. And I'm thinking about that, what's this guy talking about? If I don't like it, I don't like it. But he goes, well, we figured out what you don't like. I'm like, oh. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, if you're going through something that you don't like and you just don't want to do it anymore, don't do it. Don't do it, or figure it out. Obviously, you've taken a class, finished the semester strong, do what you got to do, get through it. Obviously, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be everything that you want. But get through it. You can do it. You can do it. And learn that, obviously, don't ever take one of those classes again. Obviously, this is not what you want to do with your life. And you figure that out. He straight up said it. If you don't like something, don't do it. He figured it out that he didn't like obviously he went to community college. Obviously that he didn't really know what he wanted to do, and honestly figured out what he wanted to do. I'm sure that there was classes along the way. There were things along the way that he thought he wanted to do and just took the opportunity, saw that it wasn't for him, and he moved on. That's okay. It's okay. No one's going to discredit you for that. Something also that I learned from him is that if things don't go completely right, that doesn't mean throw everything away. And that he made this documentary, he's making this documentary, it's coming out in January on PBS, tune in for that, Land and Water Revisited. And he was saying that he didn't have enough time to film everything that he wanted. And that it was hard for him to deal with that factor that, I can't put everything that I want out there that I want to put out there. And then he goes on to the point where he goes, well, I'm still going to make it. I'm still going to make the documentary. I'm like, well, why would you do that? Because what are you going to do? Throw everything else away? All that time that you put in, all that effort that you put in, you're just going to sweep that under the rug? Act like it never happened? Throw the documentary away? No. Work with what you got. Everyone work with what you got out there. Cards aren't always going to be in your favor. You're not going to love the hand that you're dealt, but sometimes you got to work through it. And you just got to observe the place that you're put in. Obviously, he didn't get to film all of this. Not everything that he wanted in this documentary is going to be in this documentary that he was making. But he still talked to those people. I'm sure that he still talked to those people and learned something from them. And that's important. that he now can, obviously it wasn't filmed, he could put it in the description. He had to adjust, he got to adapt. Nothing is going to go nothing's like this, guys. Nothing's going to go, it's going to be a straight line for the rest of your life. It's not like that. You got to adjust, you got to adapt, you got to move over the bumps in the road. Know why we don't have a square tire? Because some guy was like, this isn't as good. We should make this a circle. And there's probably like these inventions and, this timeline where it wasn't perfect. Nothing was everything that they wanted. And they still did it. They eventually came up with the end. The end goal will come up eventually. But there's going to be these bumps in the road that make it not make it everything that you want to be. Don't throw everything away, guys. Don't throw everything away because one thing isn't going right. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Another thing that I want to make a point is that being a professor is a lot bigger of a job than I think students take it for out there. They spent years and years trying to figure out what they wanted to do, make this research. What am I doing with my time? How am I going to help people with this? And he figured that out, and that he is trying to make an impact on students. Obviously, a lot of college kids drink. They take that class because they probably think it's going to be fun and it's cool learning about alcohol. Exactly. It was cool learning about. If he can find someone to pay attention that extra second, that extra moment in the course, he's done his job. He's made an impact. He's taught someone something. He has taught someone something. Now, obviously, you're not going to shoot 100% at the end of the day. He teaches a class with 750 kids. Not everyone's going to learn something. Not everyone's going to pay attention. But if you can change the life of one person, you've done your job. You've done your job. He also taught me that humanity is the understanding of everything as a whole. The situations, the environment, just everything in general, that it's very hard to understand everything without going through everything, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense. We're too far into the podcast for me to start over, but yeah, it's just you need to start really listening more. Really listening to what someone else has to say and really understanding that person a little more fully before you make that quick judgment. And obviously, Professor French is one of the most knowledgeable people that I have ever met. I mean, dude's got a PhD. Haven't really talked to many people besides your professors, but I got like a little one-on-one conversation with my professor about what it was really like. And he is really a standing message of understanding more about human nature and the way it can help mankind grow. The more everyone understands about humanity, the more everyone will grow. The more our society will be in peace. The more that everyone will get along. Think about that, guys. The more you learn, the more everything will come together. My next episode six with Peter Rushing, my good friend that I worked at a UPS store with over the summer, was a Navy veteran that grew up in a not so great area. And to be honest, Peter really was one of the first people that I wanted on this podcast. Obviously, came in episode 6, whatever, timing didn't work out for him to be on the first one, but is what it is. Still made it on the podcast, everything I wanted to get in. And sorry for getting a little bit off track, but Peter was this person that I looked up to that I didn't think I was going to look up to, if that makes sense. He showed me that you really need to listen to everyone with an open mind to try and learn something from the people that you meet. Internalize that for a second, guys. Internalize that. The more you listen, the more you're going to understand. If someone's having a bad day, it's completely understandable. Everyone has the bad days. But understand that. Don't be mean to them too. Don't make it worse. If they're rude, there's probably a reason that they're being rude. Probably a reason that they got, their head down in the dumps, they're looking down, really not having a good day. It's obviously understandable. Everyone's been through it. Understand that, though, that everyone's been through it. Put yourself in their shoes. Really internalize what they're going through and not just brush it off your shoulder. And some of the other things that I learned from Peter is you need to accept everyone as the same. We're all human. Don't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Caucasian, whatever, Hawaiian, whatever you want to throw out there. We're all human. Every single one of us is a human being at the end of the day. Unless I had some dogs listening to this podcast, but that's unrealistic. That we are all human. Everyone makes mistakes. There's this huge thing called human error. It happens to everyone. It happens. Human error is what makes us human. No one's perfect. Understand that, guys. That if everyone thought of each other as a human and rather than, these stereotypes and, labels, then maybe we'd get along a little bit better. What if everyone just thought we were all the same for a change, so we were all different? And that brings me into the next point of that there should be peace over fighting. That if more people understood what was going through someone else's head, what another group was going through, that maybe there'd be more peace in the world. Maybe there would be a lot better understanding. I know I said that a lot, but that's what it is. If you understand something more, the more knowledge you got, the more you can make an actual judgment instead of making a quick one like that, and then you hurt someone's feelings. You say the wrong thing. Guys, understand the situation, understand what you're going through, understand that person sitting next to you, that they are exactly the same as you. You treat them with the same respect. And another point that I learned from Peter is that things in life can go bad, but it's what you do during the bad times that truly define who you are. Peter told this story on the podcast where he got out of the military and was just going through this bad time. He had this wife at the time. Kid, he didn't have any money, he didn't know what to do. And that he said that there's obviously these points where, you think of, selling drugs, you think about doing these things, talking about, doing these shady jobs that are illegal, and that you got to get through the bad time without doing any of that. You don't need to change who you are. Don't do something out of your character because of money, because you're greedy, because everything in your life at this moment is not going well. Peter's a prime example of getting out of a bad situation his way. He did it. Why can't you? Why can't you? He did it. He didn't have to sell drugs. He didn't have to do any of that bullshit. Why can't you do it? Why can't you do it a clean way? Go out there and do something. Figure it out. He figured it out. You can go figure it out. And the last point that I want to make is that Peter was always looking to help someone. And that's something that I learned, that sometimes I know that you have to help yourself before someone else, but it's really hard to explain that this man would just do anything for another human. He would do anything for another human being out there. And I hope that resonates with you guys, that it's a mindset. It really is. It's a mindset. It's what you want to do. It's your decision to help someone out or to not help someone out. That's the final point that I want to make on that note. But we'll go into episode 7 with my good buddy, Danny Zoller. And the point that I want to make here is that it does not matter what your age is, that you can still have amazing experiences. that Danny went from taking a normal path in high school, I'm probably just going to go to college, I'm going to just do my 4 years, I'm going to get a job. He said, screw that. Screw that. Throw it out the window. I'm going to go to Guatemala and teach English. And that's amazing. To really go, people talk about going against the curve, but do you really do it? Do you really go against the curve? That's something that you gotta really dig deep into yourself that, man, this is what I want to do. And that though he may be younger, he has taught me more about life than some other people that I know that are way older. Wisdom can come from anyone, people. Just listen. Listen to what they have to say. Stop interrupting. Listen to them. Sit back, open your ears. You got 2 ears and one mouth. Use them proportionally. Some of the things that Danny taught me was that mental health is essential for everything in life. If you are not okay, that's okay. That's a step. Admitting it. It's okay. Everyone has problems. You're not alone. That you need to be okay with yourself before worrying about anything else, people. You need to be okay with who you are, what you do, everything like that, before you try and do anything else with your life, because at the end of the day, you are the most essential part to your story, to your life story. Can't be going to Guatemala if you're not okay with who you are. Can't be okay with doing everything that you want to do if you're not okay with who you are, people. Something else that he taught me is that sometimes you need to go against the curve. Go against the curve. Danny's a prime example of going against the curve and it's working out. Why can't it work out for you? Why can't it work out for you? If you want to do it, go do it. Danny, if that's what you want to do, go do it. Nothing's stopping you. Figure it out. If something's stopping you, figure it out. If you don't have the money, figure out how to make the money. You can't figure out how to get this certificate. If I don't know what to do, where to even start, go figure it out. We have the internet. We have the power of the fucking internet, people. Go use the internet. It's so powerful. You can learn everything from there. It's amazing. And that you can make your own way. Make your own path. Make your own path. It's amazing that these people out here that just want this steady line. If that's okay, that's okay. I'm not going to discredit that. But if you want to go do something amazing, don't let anyone stopping you from doing something amazing, going against the curve, doing something else. People, go do something that you want to do, not what everyone else is doing. Another point that I want to make is that you need to listen to people older than you with an open mind. The people that are older than you have way more wisdom about life than anyone else that you'll meet. The older, it's going to sound bad, but the older, the better in terms of wisdom, because they've just experienced more life. They've experienced more things. Guys, everything happens, and these people, things that happen to these people are now learned by other people. They're going to tell you what happened. Just listen, people. Said about 50,000 times on this podcast. Go listen. Listen. Put your fucking phone down. Listen to someone else. Another point that I want to make is that it's experiences over everything. That's what wisdom pretty much is. It's the experiences. That's when you'll really look yourself in the mirror and realize who you are. The character that you are. The character development that you're experiencing. That the more experiences you have, the more full your life will feel. The more full your life will be. And that the final point that I want to make is that kind of ties in with that is college will always be there. If you don't want to go to college yet, it's always there. It's not going to move. No, college is never going to go away anytime soon. Hell, you can do it from your computer now. How amazing is that? Do it from your computer now. College is always going to be there, guys. Denny has been my longtime friend, and the more I hang out with him, the more he helps me become a better person. Find people like that out there, guys. They're going to help you be better. That's what this is truly about at the end of the day. Find people out there that are going to make you better. I brought a lot of people on this podcast that are going to make you better. All you got to do is listen to them. Next is my buddy Jarrett Byer, who was a former gymnast at Penn State and now is one of my teammates on the cheer team. And I know I haven't known Jarrett for long, but I've learned a lot about this young man in the span of 5-6 months. And he is the definition of it is never over till you say it's over. That injuries happen. It's part of life. It's part of sports. That things happen that don't always go the way you planned out. But you can figure out how to get through it. Do your physical therapy. Doesn't work out in the end, you either retire from being a gymnast. That sucks to hear. That sucks. But you know what? There's other opportunities. Sports isn't everyone's entire life. There's way more out there to that. There's way more out there. Don't sell yourself short. You're way more than just an athlete, people. You're way more than just an athlete. And when you're in the trenches, you got to make your way out of it the way you know how to make your way out of it. Jarrett said that he felt that he was brought back too soon and that he didn't really agree with that. That the doctors kind of, I won't want to say pushed him, but he didn't feel ready. And the thing that I want to tell you guys, you need to listen to yourself. Listen to that little voice in your head, people. Listen to that little voice. It's amazing what that little voice can tell you. Because you know yourself the best. Straight up. You know your body. You know yourself better than anyone else out there. That you know that what you're going through. You know what you're going through, people. You have the ability to really think in that way. Really think in the manner of what is happening at this moment in time for keeping me, Ronan Bell. What is happening to you out there at this moment in time? Probably listen to this podcast, honestly. Thank you. I really appreciate it, by the way. And another thing that I want to touch on is that tragedies can strike out of anywhere. Jarrett's girlfriend got in a bad car accident. Was in medically induced coma of some sort for 2 weeks. Very scary. But everything works out. Everything worked out. Everything is okay now. It's better. I don't want to say everything's completely okay. That's a lie. It's better. It's getting better. Everything's going up. He hit the rock bottom hit out of nowhere like that. Snap of your fingers, things happen. But the thing that I want to make, the point that I want to make is that what do you do after that? You sit down, go in your room, cry it out. It's okay. But after you do that, get up. Realize that this happens. Life is not always full of butterflies and rainbows. Probably said that about 15 times on this podcast. But you have the ability to really develop yourself through that tragedy. No one ever learns anything from the good times. You learn something about yourself from the bad times. Put it in a different perspective. It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be perfect all the time out there, people. You need to figure it out. It'll always end up being okay. It's not like it's gonna go on forever. The pain always ends. The pain will always end if you let it end. And it all starts with your mind and your brain up in your head. Another thing that I want to make is that Jarrett was a very interesting person that I got to know over these past 6 months, in that he pretty much taught me, don't take life so seriously. That sometimes you don't gotta be so frustrated with yourself. You don't gotta be annoyed with every little thing. Like, things happen. Move on. Don't let a little thing drive you into insanity. Don't put you in a bad mood. It's fine. It's just a little thing, people. Just one little thing. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you from the things that you want to do. Don't take it so seriously. It's not that deep. Getting to the end of this, people. I know I've been talking for a while, 50 minutes in. Let me tell you, I'm out of breath. But we have one more episode to do, and that was with former Nittany Lion, Zach Soa. Zach is someone who never seemed to have a bad day, despite how busy he was. As the Nittany Lion, let's just get this straight, that you have to pretty much attend every single sporting event, let alone all the marketing things you have to do for the college and all that jazz as well. It is insane how he got to where he was with his intentions in the beginning. So Zach, the funny thing about this is he came into Penn State as just being a regular college student. He was okay with that. I'm going to do good in school. I'm going to get my 4.0, and I'm going to get a great job, and I'm going to help people with that job. He said he was very service-oriented. And obviously it took a little bit different turn in the spring semester. He gave me this piece of advice that, if the opportunity is there, whether or not you think you're going to take it, or whether or not you think you're going to get that role or get that spot, go do it. It's the worst thing they say is no, and you still have a great life, still living the same way. Don't let it take you down that much. Obviously be sad for a couple moments, Obviously you're going to be frustrated, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you're still okay. Still 10 toes on the ground, 10 fingers by your side. And that, why not aim high and shoot for the stars? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Fortunately, Zach got that position. He just took the opportunity. He didn't think he was going to make it. He even said that he fell flat on his face in the tryout doing a backflip. Like, come on, people. He's just a normal kid. He was a normal guy. Figured it out. He got lucky. Sometimes it works in your favor. If the opportunity is there, go take it. What's the worst thing that happens is they say no. You move on. Another thing that I learned is always be grateful for what you have. That you need to cherish that moment like a little bit more. And I'm even at fault for this. He was saying that, the last time he got to step on that football field is that he really never felt that, that moment, except when he finally took off that mask and everyone was just saying thank you. And that all those sleepless nights, all those days where, oh my God, I don't want to do this. It's really busy. I have all this work to do. It all pays off. It all pays off, people. It all pays off in a moment. One moment. For him, it was that moment. Figure out what that moment's going to be. Visualize it, people. Visualize it. It will all be worth it. The bad times will end. Busyness is good. Keep working. It will all pay off one day. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it until I die. Keep working. It'll pay off. Another thing that I want to say is that, make a dent in the universe. Why not you? And that someone is always watching you even when you don't think so. The dent in the universe thing and this coincide with each other because making a dent in the universe, someone is not going to watch you all the time. You're not always going to be watched, or are you? The point I'm trying to make here is that every little thing that you do is kind of being watched by someone. Someone out there is looking at you. Someone out there, maybe someone up above, maybe someone down below, but they're watching you. Someone out there is looking at the things you do. Even if you don't feel like you're getting any credit for what you're doing, it's okay. Someone's watching you. Someone is listening. I don't get a lot of views on these podcasts, but that's not the point of making this. The point was to really get someone out there to learn something, maybe change their perspective a little bit, to just listening, have an open mind more. And that the point where that ties into is that someone is always watching you, even when you don't think anyone is. Someone really is watching you work that hard. Someone is really watching you when you have that bad day and they're trying to pick you up. Someone is watching you when everything is going good. Someone's watching you when everything's going bad. But it's your decision, it's your mindset that either elevates you and makes you want to work harder and makes you have this good image and makes you a good person. What is your true character like when no one is watching you? That's what really defines who you are. Who are you when the camera turns off? Who are you when, at the end of the day, you go to bed and look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day? Someone is always watching you, people. Don't think anything that you ever do is uncredited. It is. It was a real privilege talking to Zach. Obviously, he really taught me how to have a fuller life. Enjoy the moment a little bit more. Realize that, I probably said it about 15 times in the past 5 minutes, but someone's always watching you. That all the credit might not be hitting you now, but it will one day. So guys, I hope everyone out there has learned at least one thing through this first season. Even something small, if it made an impact on you, that makes me feel like I'm helping and striving towards the greater good. I'm trying to help you guys out there be the best human being you can be. Really learn something from someone else's experiences, and just I hope that someone's doing something out there because of this. That would make me feel good. I said it in my first episode, and I'll say it again, though, that this show is not about me, and it never will be. The show is not about me, and it never will be. I make this for you guys. I make this to try and really help you guys understand if you're having a bad experience, if you don't know how to do something, that there's 10 episodes out here that if that person can somehow relate to you, maybe it can help. At the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do. It's not about me, people. I'm trying to help you guys out there. I push the point that I hope someone out there is becoming more empathetic, realizing that I can place myself in someone else's shoes and understand why they're feeling this type of way. And if any of you are ever lost in life out there, that just take it and listen to one of these people. I just said it not too long ago, but I'm sure that, maybe it might not help entirely. Maybe it will kind of blow over your head or something like that, but I hope that it can at least help a little bit. Get you to start and make your way out of the trench that you're experiencing. I've been in trenches. Every single person out there has been in trenches. You can get out of it. Everything's going to be okay, people. So, before I turn off the mic, obviously, right now, I'm going to take a 1-week break, pretty much. So, week of Thanksgiving, I'm going to spend at home, enjoy that with my family, and I'll be back on December 7th for the first episode of Season 2. Really excited to, do this again, guys. I hope that this Season 1 obviously wasn't perfect, but it's out there. I did it. Why can't you? And if you didn't already know, I have hoodies for sale on the RonanBellShow.com. If you want to help me out and join the Keep On Keeping On family, go cop one of the dopest hoodies ever. This is so dope. Who doesn't want to buy this thing? It's awesome pink writing. I got this in the icy white. We got them in black as well. But I'm sure I'm going to come up with some more things. Maybe we got some beanies in the near future. I don't know. It looks like you guys are going to have to wait and see. But guys, that is all I got for this episode. And this is all I got for Season 1 of the Ronan Bell Show. So, I hope everyone has a great week out there. I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope everyone is just, doing something. I hope everyone's doing something. And as always, y'all, keep on keeping on.